Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Nuts and Bolts. I'm Straight Jacket Jim.
And I'm Natty. Hello.
Hey, how you going, Natty?
Yeah, I was complaining before. Still a little bit of a cough I'm recovering from, but doing really well otherwise. How are you,
That's
Straight?
good. Doing good. Had today off, so could actually
Oh,
spend a bit of time prepping, which I do like to do. And I like being prepared when I do shows.
Wednesdays off are the best
Oh yeah,
ever. Just recommend it to everybody everywhere.
yeah.
Just do it.
Just days off in general. Who needs work? Just day off. Do what you want. Do what you
Oh, the
love.
luxury.
Yeah. Damn that mortgage. Yeah. But yeah. But yes.
Yeah, who needs responsibilities and things?
That's it. But today, nuts and bolts for your weekly esports fix with Game On Aus here. We've got a few things to talk about. I think first off, we're going to start with a bit of, I'm going to call it Overwatch news, but it's a little bit different. Because over the weekend, I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a tournament and there was a couple of casters. It was, I've got it written down here, Brendan Sideshow, were calling one of the characters a little bit differently. People would be aware about how the controversy that's going on at Activision Blizzard at the moment with the lawsuit that's being launched against them. And there's a character in the game that's implicated. I'm not sure if he's implicated in the lawsuit, but there's definitely some evidence that's come out that isn't very nice about him.
Yeah, the guy is specifically mentioned in the lawsuit
Yeah,
with some specific claims.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and which is unfortunate because this guy is a character named after him in Overwatch as well. So what these casters were doing were not saying his name or referring to him as the cowboy. And you may notice we're doing that as well because we think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, calling him the cowboy or calling by the player's name as well. So I think it's a good message to send. I think it needs to show that these actions can't continue.
Yeah, well, we're obviously aware some of the Activision Blizzard staff have, gone on walkouts, and while I don't think all staff want to do that, they do want to show support for what's happening for the people that were affected in the lawsuit. So this is a really good way to do it, to take a stand and maybe not celebrate people that have allegations against them currently.
It'll be interesting to see the future of that character, whether they'll change his name or just get rid of the character altogether for Overwatch 2. Cause,
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of speculation, Reddit threads going on at the moment about what they should do with, this particular character. But I just really appreciated the sentiment from the casters. They were all on board together, and this character is a popular DPS character, so certainly not one that is avoided a lot. And they all did a great job of coming together and calling him, the cowboy. I believe there were some references to calling, just calling out the shots that he was taking with his weapons instead of that, or just going by the player names
yeah.
themselves, which is all good moves. But yeah, the Overwatch League is still going, and Aussie Avril is on the caster team as well for the OWL. So it was good to catch up a little bit on that today and see how it's all going.
It's an interesting thing because I can't imagine that was easy for the casters to pivot to that. Like the speed that they move and their knowledge of the game, some of the names would just be ingrained into their heads.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not like they made the shift for all characters. It was this one particular character. So you're watching them talk about Sombra and, all the other characters and, doing their thing. And then when it comes to this particular character doing something, swapping to the player name or whatever. It was very seamless from what I was watching today.
Takes great skill. I do.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
I do. And I don't think it will happen, but it does have me a little bit worried that, especially after how Blizzard reacted with Blitzchung, and in fairness, this is quite a different circumstance where Activision Blizzard is under attack themselves rather than somebody casting, something and somebody shouting out protests that a certain country didn't like.
Yeah.
So it is different in that regard, but they also still took away his prize money. They gave him a ban and all sorts of stuff. They stopped the casters that hid under the desk from casting.
Yeah.
And I know being on because I think, are they British casters? I think I saw one of them was at least British.
Yeah, so there's a mix of international. So we've got the Aussie Avril, but there was also American and Brits as well. Yeah.
So is it an American league?
So OWL is the international
League. Okay.
league. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah, it'd be interesting, and I reckon if they actually did anything, the negative press that they get out for that would just be, it'd blow up. Like mainstream media would be jumping on that.
Oh, there is no way. I think Blizzard of Activision have already been making moves, instating 2 new co-CEOs who was a woman and a man of color, and they're working toward making some changes there based on what's come to light. So I don't think we'll see any action taken against the casters.
Oh, that's good then.
And it's all been handled very classily as well. No, like none of the casters are drawing attention to it themselves. Particularly, it was just a way that they could support what was happening, which I thought was really good.
And even like it all sort of came to light because someone on Twitter noticed it and they posted about it. And I think I read somewhere that the 2 casters involved liked it, but still haven't said anything about it. And I'm a big fan of not giving power to those. Like this will be a very Australian thing, but in the mid 90s, we had a big our last mass shooting. I think it was, or it was the Lynch. I can't remember, but it was a big thing that drove Australia to ban automatic and semi-automatic rifles. And in a place called Port Arthur in Tasmania. A couple of years ago, I went down there, and the tour group I was on was mainly international people, so they didn't have that local knowledge. But even then, I just happened to ask our tour guide about it a bit late into the day, and it just so happened we were passing by where it happened, and there's this little plaque there that commemorates or memorializes the victims and never mentioned anything about the shooter, which I really liked, because we don't want to be remembering those people. We want to remember the event that had happened, but you don't want to remember the people. The person that did it, sorry.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. It's memorializing those who are affected, but not celebrating or bringing attention to those who have caused the damage. So, yeah, I think it's a great move. I think they've all done a brilliant job, in their professional capacity, all carried on really well, and looking forward to seeing what Blizzard Activision do next. I know that they've been hit hard by sponsors pulling out, especially supporting the OWL as well. So hopefully they make enough changes for people to feel like they're on a different track, and then they'll come back.
It's an interesting thing, because the only way companies like that pay attention is if you hurt their bottom line. But if you hurt the bottom line, you're also hurting things like the workers there, the developers that also don't like what's going on. You hurt the esports leagues, but it's tough. But how else do you express your displeasure, like apart from Twitter? But we all know that Twitter sort of lives in its own little bubble. When
sure.
At Twitter, it's like all the outrage for Star Wars Battlefront 1 that came out a few years ago, and all the outrage about loot boxes there, which admittedly did kick off some places banning loot boxes, but the game still sold millions.
Absolutely. I think we do suffer from having discussions in spaces and just hearing them in echo chambers and assuming that the whole world is with us, when maybe that's not the case.
That's it. But like I said, well done to those casters for finding a way to show their displeasure without actually having to come out and say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But speaking of more well dones, Microsoft have partnered with the Special Olympics, and I'm quite interested in this. So they're getting together for an inaugural Gaming for Inclusion esports event from September the 12th to the 14th. And what they're doing is they're getting a lot of people that, obviously at the moment with COVID going on, it's very hard to get in place and do an event together. So they're doing an esports tournament in stuff like Rocket League and Madden and Forza with the Special Olympics people. So for those that don't know, and I had to look this up myself because I knew that the Paralympics is happening soon, because the Olympics have just finished. but I didn't realise that the Special Olympics and Paralympics are two separate entities. So the Paralympics is more for physical disabilities, and the Special Olympics are more for mental impairments. So not to say that there's probably not a bit of crossover between the two, but that's generally what they are. So seeing Microsoft partner with some good Xbox content there, and all these games will be played on Xbox, and it's just awesome to see them step up and do some inclusion work.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It was interesting reading up on it today, just looking at how long Microsoft has been involved with the Special Olympics. So they've been a long time supporter, I think, from 2014 of the Olympics. And last year, when everybody was hit with lockdowns and dealing with COVID, they had a gaming esports event that they ran last year, but this is the first year that they've made it something official. I think obviously tying into it being the formal Olympic year, even though it's 2021 instead of 2020, to launch this inaugural event. And it is really exciting to see them getting involved and elevating athletes that we might not normally see on the esports platforms. So it'll be really interesting to follow along and catch up with that.
I like as well. So the winners of the tournaments get a chance to play with some other other athletes as well. So I think on the article you linked me earlier, Natty, they were saying that there's some playing with Jason Tatum from the NBA, NFL legend Jamal Charles, and some WWE superstars as well. Because I know there's a lot of WWE superstars that do stuff on Twitch as well and play games. I think one streamer I watch a lot, Grand Pooh Bear, not esports related, just a little sidetrack, but he does a lot with Adam Cole as one of the wrestlers.
Oh,
so
yes.
it's really quite fun to see them getting in on it as well and supporting this initiative.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, especially WWE itself has been in a bit of trouble over the last 12 months or 18 months trying to work out how they want to brand their athletes and how they manage their personas on social media platforms and in places like Twitch. So they've kind of been scaling back, but they do generally support a lot of initiatives like this, and it's really great to see them supporting and sending some of the superstars to play along, which is awesome.
Yep. And like Microsoft does do a lot of work in the inclusive space. Like this initiative's been going, well, not this particular initiative, but the partnership with the Special Olympics has been going since 2014, as you said. And I remember I think it might have even been an Australian streamer where they've developed some really good accessible, like almost arcade stick type stuff for a streamer to play with, and the work that they do in that sort of space is incredible.
Yeah, out of the major manufacturers, Xbox/Microsoft are definitely leading the way with accessibility. So it's great to see that also come across into their esports side as well.
Yep. No, that's amazing. So couple of little bits of news that happened during the week as well. One was, I think, was it last week or the week before, we reported about the Knights winning an entry into Six Mexico Major for the Rainbow Six International competition. Unfortunately, I think it was just after last week's show, we learnt that the Knights are not able to make it and have had to withdraw from the competition, making the Six Mexico Major a 15-team competition now, which it's sad, but it's gonna. I think it's going to become it's going to become more and more common. I feel like when at an MSI earlier in the year for the League of Legends stuff, like Pentanet.gg were playing in a 3-man group stage because one of the teams couldn't make it due to COVID as well, and it's a shitty way of having to pull out, but it makes things so much more complex now, COVID.
Yeah, and the Wildcard Gaming, who won last year, faced the same issues. They couldn't go to the Six International because of the issues around COVID. That was going to be in Paris, France, which would have been really cool for the guys, but they couldn't make it over. And I feel like it's really unknown what we're going to see going ahead because, are we going to see more variants and more waves, or are we going to start to see uh, us get on top of this thing and then kind of trying to return to some kind of normal? So,
Yeah, without trying to get too much into it, because I think we all have our own personal opinions about how the COVID's being handled in, well, particularly Australia, because that's where we are, and the world on a larger scale. But it does happen, and like you do ask the question of how are Pentanet able to get over to Iceland for MSI, but Knights can't get out to Mexico, and it's, to me, it's a couple of different things, because like MSI was what, 3 months ago now. It's been a while, and as a country we were in a different position back then. Like,
yeah.
and it's been in the last sort of, like, and even to compare it to the Olympics as well. Like the Olympics has just finished and people are coming back, and they're doing their 2 weeks hotel quarantine, and why were they able to get over there? Yeah, well, things didn't kick off over here until after they sort of went, or were in the process of going. So it's a different state at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that there's obviously so many issues going on for these guys. That obviously, any local issues. So it could just be as simple as some people don't have their passport, which Legacy, I think, spoke about that in preparation for. They had to rush through getting papers for one of their players. But obviously there's so many extra issues. Our local governance and how that works here, but also the receiving country. If we've got players maybe from New South Wales at the moment, maybe the receiving country is looking at that as a red zone for them. So it all gets very tricky and very complicated, and unfortunately the fallout is our players don't get to compete with the best in the world, but it's for their safety.
It is, and it may even have been a money thing, because like if you go overseas, you've got to come back and do hotel quarantine that you've got to pay for, which is not cheap. We're talking thousands of dollars there, and Knights may not have been able to afford that. It could just be something as simple as that, and they wouldn't be the first team to go under because they didn't have enough money. Because let's face it, there's it's quite a cutthroat market, especially in Australia where it's still going off. And even during the week, we saw another esports company close up. Bizarre Gaming has folded, which they did some PUBG stuff, they did Valorant stuff, COD Warzone. One I'm not familiar with, which I feel I should be familiar with, are Paladins. I'm not.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Paladins. It was kind of Overwatch,
but
okay. Not. It was very much push the payload kind of levels, but more cartoony. It was cool.
Yeah, it's a shame to see it go under like that, and especially I was having a look at their website earlier, and a lot of it seems to be like was geared towards selling clothes. And as an esports org, you probably look at that going, that's a bit strange, but like we were talking a little bit before the show, Natty, and it's probably more an attempt for them to try and raise money so that they can fund stuff like running the comps and playing their players and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you see a lot of the well-funded teams doing things like having stream teams to try and get revenue through Twitch or through YouTube. Clothing, Order is one of the best ones probably in Australia at the moment for the sponsorships that they have for their clothing and all the stuff that they're bringing out. So I think you have to be really, really agile as a team and look for where you can get other income opportunities. And especially if you're looking for external investment, they're going to be looking for that. They're not just going to be looking for you're winning the tournaments. They're going to be looking for proof that you're a viable business as well.
Yeah, because winning tournaments is it's like like a bit like sponsorship as well. Like you need to find a steady revenue stream that's going to be able to let you, pay your players or attract new players or attract coaches and the support staff behind the scenes. And you've got to do that somewhere, whether it's through merch or whether you get bought by or funded by like a company like Pentanet. Because I think that's half the reason that Pentanet the GG have done as well as they have, because they've had the backing of a reasonably large internet company from Perth. It's and there are other orgs like that, like Order is a reasonably big org, and just places like that help, like the funds from the org as a whole help fund these little teams if they need a little bit extra, and it's hard because Bazaar weren't that old either. I think I saw the Paladins team was the earliest one they had, and that was mid 2019 that came in, so that's only a couple of years.
Yeah, which is really disappointing, but there's a point where that our market can only support so many teams, and it's kind of like any other sport. If the AFL was flooded with a whole lot of tiny teams, they would start to fall to the wayside, and so we kind of see that shuffle around happening all the time.
Yeah, I was even like probably the Super Rugby is probably a more recent comparison, because like back before COVID, like the Western Force, which is the Perth-based rugby union team in Super Rugby, got cut, but because they just weren't feasible anymore according to the ARU. But I have other feelings on that, but we won't get into that because this is an e-sport competition.
Being from Adelaide, we had the Rams for I think 4 years or something of rugby.
Yeah.
So you've got to go. You've got to be able to make it so your business is sustainable.
That's
however
it.
you could do that's going to work, and it's the same for esports.
That's it. Yeah, make sure that your teams can stand, and it's sad to see them go, but sometimes that's the best thing to do rather than keep throwing money after it, or mortgage your own house to support your org. Don't do that, people. That's not a good business decision.
Speaking to some people who have worked through that kind of startup line where they've started businesses that have failed, you learn the best lessons from when things didn't go quite right. Who knows, they might be reforming to launch a new team or something else adjacent to gaming. So hopefully they can take those skills, and everybody involved with the company can move forward in some way positively from the experience.
Yeah, that's it. And like even failures and learning experiences, like you say, they'll take something away from that. Those people might move on to other orgs and take those experiences with them. So, or even, like you say, they might get in with another small little org there and boost them up. Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Take that experience to another org. That would be a brilliant way for them to make the most of their skills and knowledge.
Cool. So just quickly, as we're getting towards the end of the show, I do want to mention that the World of Tanks ANZPL Season 3 draft is happening tomorrow night on twitch.tv/World of Tanks ANZ. Not too much going on. It should be pretty quick. Two of the teams are keeping the same lineup as last year, which I think is pretty damn good. Your third season coming up, and they've already established that they've got a nice lineup that they want to keep working on. So it'll be interesting to see what players end up where, because there's some pretty good players. And I was actually talking to Jake Truman earlier today, who's the product manager for World of Tanks ANZ, and it sounds like there's a few players that haven't put their hand up before that are pretty damn good players. So
that's really exciting. New wildcards in the league should be really good for the new season.
That's it. Yeah, so we're glad to see that kicking off. But yes, so that's tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, if anybody wants to have a look at that.
Where can people catch that?
So twitch.tv/World of Tanks ANZ. That'll be happening. So that'll be cool.
Perfect. Right. Oh, that's, a bit of excitement. We've got the LCO playoffs happening at the moment, so we'll be able to talk about that next week. It'll be interesting to see how that all goes. Yeah, because
going into tonight, I was watching a bit of it beforehand, and Direwolf's upset Chiefs. Sorry, spoiler alert, but yeah. So that put Direwolves on the same amount of wins as Chiefs as well, because going into this round there was Pentanet, Chiefs and Order, I think, all sitting on 14 wins, And yeah, and direwolves.
It's really exciting.
It is.
I've really enjoyed how this split's working out, because last split it was a bit of a Pentanet just running out ahead of the pack when we're really seeing the other teams challenge.
Yeah, sorry to talk over you there, but I was really worried that was going to happen again. Like with Pentanet coming back from MSI with all that experience, because how quickly they learnt in MSI, it was staggering. And I legitimately thought they were going to come back and steamroll everybody again, but the competition has been insanely equal. It's like up the top end of the town. There's like I think sort of end of last week the top 4 had been decided, but the makeup of that top 4, where everybody was sitting, could anybody's game, and that'll be decided sometime tonight.
Yeah. Really, really, really interesting to see how that all shapes up. But that'll be news next week.
Yep, that's it. We'll be talking about that then. But thanks everyone for joining us. We're very great. This is actually, I realised as we were all talking tonight, this is the first Nuts and Bolts show you and I have done together.
Oh, because a happy inaugural Natty and Straight Nuts and Bolts.
Because the first you had a couple of pre-recorded episodes, those really great interviews with Jack Scarrett and Jess Goat, and then myself and Reflex did one week, and this is our 3rd episode back, and the first one we've done live together. That's cool.
Woohoo!
But,
it's been great having a chat with you, and looking forward to continuing this through the rest of the year.
Thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video. If you like what you've seen, why not check out this video here? Or if you really like us, drop us a subscribe. And don't forget to like and comment as well. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.